here we go. Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with TFL Bike, and I'm here in the garage with Andy right now, and we're looking at a really cool motorcycle today that I'm going to be pretty upfront with you all watching this video. I don't know a whole lot about this, but Andy right here does. So what I do know is this is a 2005 Buell Blast, and I know that it's really weird to ride because I took it around the block, but that's pretty much where my knowledge ends on this bike.
Well, you're going to get to try it again.
Yeah, we're going to take it for a ride at the end of this video, but first I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about Buell and a little bit about this specific motorcycle. And
well, it's under Harley-Davidson's arm, or it was anyway. Eric Buell was an engineer, I think, for Harley-Davidson, went kind of separate, wanted to do sport bike versions with the Harley-Davidson motors, and this was their entry-level motorcycle. So it's kind of sport bike, kind of cruiser, kind of entry-level beginner.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it right off the bat, you can definitely tell that. Like, it's not. First of all, just the size of it. You walk up to this bike, and it does seem pretty small for a sporty bike.
And it's also low. I mean, you can see for me at 5'8", very flat-footed, knees bent. And again, nice narrow bars, easy to, maneuver this thing. But this was, again, kind of that sport bike side of Harley-Davidson that they were trying to figure out. And, the VR 1000 came out of that history, road racing. Also, Harley-Davidson back in the day, this was all kind of their thing. Their Buell Lightnings, their 1000cc sport bike versions of this, were actually pretty cool bikes to ride. Very low center of mass. They handled really good if you were into that big V-twin vibration and thumper action.
Yeah.
So, but again, I really, for naysayers, anybody looking at this think, what an ugly bike, why would anybody do? Well, it's a motorcycle. And it certainly is, to throw a leg over it, an experience to ride it. It is a big thumper. It is a Harley V-twin motor with the back cylinder machined out. So it's just a single cylinder 500, and it is just a little rager to ride. It's just unique in its ride. So getting an ability to throw a leg over something like this and ride them all day long. I had gotten some track time on one of these bikes, and that's where I was kind of amazed at the seating position, forward, kind of on the legs and all. I was able to booger up some tires on one of these things, and it was a lot of fun.
That must be quite the feeling, forward controls.
It was interesting, but it handled. Everything was fresh. It was a fairly new ride. It was at PPIR during one of the superbike races. They let us, Harley-Davidson and Buell had a truck there, and they had a whole bunch of motorcycles. So parade laps, and then I was actually able to just slow down and kind of rip through some of the corners.
Nice.
And it was fun. Ultra quiet. You'll hear it when it starts up.
What's the displacement on this?
It's 500 cc's.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, it would be, 1,000cc if that back bank, or not bank, but that back cylinder was on there.
That V-twin was still there,
yeah.
Sure. Somebody got pretty smart about it, that's for sure. And it's very unique to work on. If you need parts, it's a Harley-Davidson dealership.
Yeah.
And that isn't always. This bike was brought back from poor fuel, old fuel, carb varnished up. So this was a carb clean and a tank flush.
So this was a customer's bike you were working on?
This is a customer's bike, and I let him know what was going to be going on. The unique thing about this tank flush was that it's a plastic tank. No rust, no issues. On a regular motorcycle, that same fuel, that same bad carb.
Yeah, you'd spend hours trying to clean that tank out. It would be a different day
on that gas tank alone. So that was a real saver to keep the price down to get this back on the road for him again. The Harley-Davidson carburetor on there, it's really a Mikuni carburetor built for Harley-Davidson. And it's completely anti-tamper proof, as they think, but I took all the anti-tamper off and made it adjustable again. So it's running much better than it ever did. And it's kind of one of those things that you get to do in the process of cleaning the carb.
I do think it's a bike that honestly has aged pretty well. Like the design of it is just so unique.
I think so too, Alex. Again, and when you stand around it, like anything else, when people look at a car or a truck and, oh, I don't like that, a lot of times that will grow on you.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of those bikes as well. It's unique in its build, and it's fun to ride. I've never ridden anything like it, to be quite honest with you.
Look at that. It even says Harley-Davidson on the dash right there.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. One of the things that jumped out to me really the first time I looked at this was this exhaust. This is one of the craziest exhausts I've ever seen on a motorcycle. That hangs super low down to the ground. It almost looks like a belly pan off a sport bike.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's all muffler.
Yeah.
And it, that's kind of one of the quick improvements that you can do on this would be an exhaust system. Very easy to do. It'll even sound a little nicer, but the weight factor of it is really what it would be about putting a pipe on this thing.
Yeah. Do you know about what this bike weighs as a whole?
Let's see if it says it on the VIN tag here. Nope, just date of manufacturer. Nope, gross vehicle weight on that.
I'm going to estimate that it'd probably be 350, 375, 400 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say under 400 pounds. When I threw a leg over it, I don't, you've heard me say this in the podcast, I'm not typically a fan of very heavy bikes. I'm a really small dude.
Yeah.
And this felt really good to throw a leg over and kind of ride around.
You know me, as long as I've been riding, even, I understand the big Harley rides, heavy 900-pound motorcycles. But I've dropped one of those myself. Same thing. Not riding it, kickstand crash, drop. Because they're once they get to a certain point, if you're not there on the leverage, especially if you have legs, knees, ankles, it'll break them if it falls over on it. So it's just let it fall over at that point if you can't hold it up.
So why do you think Buell didn't really, why was it killed off? I know it's coming back, but
not a popular bike when they were rolling. They were very loyal customers to them. All the Buells that I've worked on in the past, those people love their bikes.
Yeah.
And they really were very unique to the customer, and the customer was unique to the bike. So, just like anything else that I've worked on, Japanese or Italian or anything else, the customers that ride those bikes usually follow suit of who they are.
And you have a lot of experience with that. For people that haven't watched all the videos with Andy, a lot of experience working in dealerships. So what is the ideal customer? Who were the people buying this? Were they Harley guys that wanted something sportier, or were they sport bike guys that
was really what the intention was for Harley, was to capture some of the sport bike market, because it was so huge, which I think you are finding out with me in my era. And when I was racing, sport bikes were at the top of the category for bikes being sold. So Buell, Eric Buell, and that side of Harley-Davidson wanted to jump into that sport bike market to get some market share out of it, of which they did. They did pretty well with selling some motorcycles. But it also, as I said, it sparked Harley-Davidson's venture into road racing for the first time with the VR1000 motor and all that. So that was really, having world-class riders ride their superbike in the AMA Superbike Series back then was something else to watch as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know much about Buell. Was this kind of like a one-hit wonder? Did they do a lot of other models similar to this?
Yeah, I think they had 3 to 5 different sport bike versions, not of the Blast, but just they had the Lightning, and then they would just make different builds or accessory levels or how you wanted it set up. Again, fit and finish on those motorcycles, like Harley-Davidson's, were really pretty good at the time. A lot of plastic on this one, but it's by design that you don't you wad up metal, that's different. You scratch up plastic, that's a lot easier on the wallet.
Yeah, there's just so many interesting bits on this bike. Like I'm looking at this frame that comes down here and how it has that cross member to attach to the engine.
Yep.
Really crazy engineering on this.
Same thing with the drive belt system. People said, that's the wrong belt on there. And no, it's not. That's stock.
Yeah, look at that. You'd think you need a belt that's, twice as wide as that, but that's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Very cool. Well, very cool motorcycle.
Do you want to start it up in here, and so people can?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So while you still got it in the shop here, being this is also what it is, you'll hit the key, and about 10 seconds, let everybody get happy here on the electronics. You pull the clutch in.
Starts right up.
Button. See, it goes right to a high idle.
Yeah.
So that means the choke is on. And as it sits here and idles and starts to warm up the oil, that temperature will go up and the carburetor will actually detune and come down to a slower idle.
Sounds like a big old thumper.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go ride it, bud.
Yeah, let's take it out on the road. All right, so here we go. Time to ride the 05 Buell Blast. And yeah, Andy knows this. He's kind of the same way as me. Neither of us are forward control guys, are we? So
it gives me leg cramps.
Yeah. I just
I got to be on my haunches right here so I can actually weight pegs. That's how my riding style is.
I just don't find it to be super comfortable, or I don't know, it doesn't want to make me ride the wheels off the thing, which is how I like to ride.
No, shifter, get real positive on your shifting. That's the only thing I can say because it is tweaked up.
Okay.
So for me, I'm literally pulling my whole leg up to make sure I get up because I missed shifting a couple of times on it, and I was like, okay, yep.
Yeah, I think we should be good there. But yeah, I've definitely ridden bikes with forward controls before. It's just not my preference, but this is a cool bike, so I'll get over it. A lot of vibration coming through this. All right, I'll be back. All right, here we go. Running pretty good. It's definitely carbureted. It's a nice chilly morning here. Andy said he was just messing with the carb a little bit, kind of to bring it into winter so it'll run better at these cooler temps. So I think the bike just needs to warm up a little bit, but definitely if you crack the throttle and don't roll into it, definitely bogs a little bit. When you first pull off from a stop, it does feel like the whole bike's falling apart a little bit. A lot of vibration. And yeah, it just kind of feels like the whole thing's gonna turn into pieces. It is a big old single cylinder, and that's kind of the feeling you'll get on a lot of bikes like this. But once you're moving and cruising at a decent speed, it's actually pretty smooth. Kind of leaning it back and forth a little bit. The weight feels really weird. It's one of the strangest feelings I've ever had, actually, riding a motorcycle. It just, you kind of get it leaned over a little bit, and then if you roll into the power a little more, it really wants to stand itself back up straight. Sounds pretty good too. I actually really like the sound of this bike. The seating position, I'm definitely finding a little bit odd, but it is very comfortable, and I think I would get used to it if I spent enough time on this bike. It's just not what I'm used to at all. I feel like I'm very low down to the road, just in terms of where my head is at. I just feel much closer to the pavement than I usually am. The seat's also sloped a little bit forward, so I kind of slide forward a little bit on it. If I kind of shift my body weight around, my butt does like to slide forward, but it is really comfortable. It's fun though. It's definitely feels like a sport bike. For sure. It's really stiff actually. Suspension doesn't really soak up a lot of the bumps in the road. I feel really connected to the road, and that's a feeling I like. I like to kind of feel all the cracks and bumps and dips underneath me. And even on this bike with a decent amount of age, suspension doesn't feel too tired. And yeah, like I said, it just doesn't feel like a big cushy Harley-Davidson. It is incredible though how the bike really just wants to stand itself up. So yeah, pretty cool piece of history here with the Buell Blast. First of all, just a really cool name for a motorcycle. I really like the name Blast. Buell Blast just rolls off the tongue real nice. But it's definitely fun to ride. Pretty sporty. I could see where Harley-Davidson had their heads at with this, and I think they definitely made the right bike. Nailed the formula they were going for, which is cool. And I just think it's really kind of unique, kind of quirky that this is basically a Harley-Davidson engine with the back cylinder lopped off of it. So it's a big single-cylinder Harley-Davidson engine, which is just really rad. Yeah, I'm already used to these forward controls, or I guess somewhat of a mid-control, but yeah, this is fun. I approve. There we have it. God, this is far back. Why'd they put the side stand so far back? I guess so. You know, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Like I mentioned, you know, I rode this briefly around our office, and it is crazy how the bike just, you roll on throttle and it wants to stand itself right back up. But
That big center gyro.
yeah.
Massive flywheel.
It is so solid though, like the suspension's nice and stiff. You feel so connected to the road. You feel every little bump and divot and crack, which is what I like on a motorcycle. It just doesn't feel like a big cushy cruiser.
Imagine what two new Dunlops
Oh, it would do a lot for it.
really send it over the top. So, how did it run?
It ran great, you know, with some more heat in it. Probably would run a little better.
Again, the oil temperature is everything.
Yeah.
So.
That was a pretty short ride, yeah, but also you really have to, when you're going from second to first, you have to jam down into first gear.
Well, you see what I meant by just the shifter up or down, there's a lot of travel in it. And even as you started out, that little...
Yep, exactly.
Okay, yep, nope. Doing that same thing, and I was like, okay, no, you got to really...
Yeah, it wants you to give it some force.
For sure.
But yeah, a fun bike. If they were out to make a Harley-Davidson sport bike, they nailed it.
Well, do you see? I mean, that's why I say I'm not sure why a lot of folks really kind of gave these things a thumbs down when they were out there. It was a good tool for, you know, Harley-Davidson to be able to get into that market.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. An 05 Buell Blast. Thanks to Andy and the owner of this bike. Peter, I'm sure you're watching this video. Thank you so much for allowing us to come out here and take your bike for a ride. Very cool piece of machinery you got here, and I hope you enjoy it for many years to come. You're in the right hands here, having Andy work on it. So there you go. Check out our new podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where you get your podcast, TFL Ride. Head on over to alltfl.com so you don't miss any future bike stories. Catch you in the next video.